Good evening, I'm Hafiz Marzukhi. After talks between US and China concludes, Trump says deal is done. While back in the US, Trump's tariffs to remain in effect amid appeals. All this and more coming up on AWANI International. US President Donald Trump just posted on Truth Social saying the US deal with China is done, subject to final approval from him and China President Xi Jinping. According to him, Beijing will supply magnets and rare earth minerals, while the US will allow Chinese students in its colleges and universities. The post by Trump came after representatives from US and China had revealed that a deal had been reached on trade after a second day of high-level talks in London. The announcement came after 2 days of negotiations in London between Washington and Beijing's top officials. US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said the deal builds on an agreement reached last month in Geneva to ease bilateral retaliatory tariffs that reached triple-digit levels. Both countries had initially agreed to a temporary truce last month, but later accused each other of breaching the Geneva deal. Washington claimed China had been slow to release exports of rare earths and restricted Beijing's access to US goods such as semiconductors. Now, a US Federal Appeals Court has allowed President Donald Trump's tariffs to remain in effect, at least for now. This is while it reviews a lower court ruling that blocked the tariffs on the grounds that Trump exceeded his authority to impose them under a national emergency. The decision means Trump may continue to enforce his Liberation Day tariffs on imports from most US trading partners. However, it does not affect sector-wide tariffs that Trump previously enacted, including those on aluminum, steel, and auto parts. The case has been put on a fast track for a resolution in July. The Court of International Trade previously ruled on May 28 that the Constitution gave Congress, not the President, power to levy taxes and tariffs. The government quickly appealed, and the Federal Circuit Court in Washington paused the lower court's ruling the next day while it considered a longer-term suspension. We'll go for a short break. Stay with us.
Kelimomo datang lagi? Mungkin shampoo anda tidak 100%. Mari kita lihat. Gunalah Head & Shoulders menghilangkan kelimomo sehingga 100%, membasmi kegagalan, melindungi kulit kepala sehingga 48 jam supaya kelimomo dan kegagalan tidak datang lagi. Head & Shoulders.
Aksi legasi kini mendominasi. Sepak takraw League kini kembali membara dalam musim penuh aksi yang menggemparkan. Dapatkan tiket anda sekarang. Pelanggan Astro juga boleh memenangi tiket eksklusif di aplikasi My Astro. Jangan lepaskan peluang keemasan ini.
Di era digital, pemasaran bukan hanya tentang penjualan semata-mata. Penceritaan menarik jadi kekuatan dalam membina hubungan perniagaan, tingkat pengetahuan, perkasakan perniagaan anda. Saksikan segmen JWSME dalam program Awani Pagi dan Niaga Awani setiap Isnin hingga Khamis di saluran 501. Dibawakan oleh penaja utama jelajah JWSME, Unify Business, rakan digital pilihan anda.
Los Angeles police say they are conducting mass arrests as protests against immigration raids enter another night. The city's mayor, Karen Bass, has declared a local emergency and imposed a partial curfew to curb looting and violence. The curfew covers a 1 square mile zone out of the city's 500-plus square miles and will be in effect from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Exceptions would apply to residents, the media, and emergency services. LA Police Chief Jim McDonnell said the move is necessary to safeguard property after days of growing unrest, warning that those who violate the curfew would be arrested. Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom accused Trump of inflaming the protests. He earlier filed an emergency motion to block Trump's military expansion in LA, but a federal judge denied it. Demonstrations have also spread to other major cities, including New York, Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, and San Francisco. Meanwhile, Donald Trump vows to keep the military in Los Angeles until there is peace on the streets. The U.S. president has so far deployed 700 Marines and 4,000 National Guard troops to the city in an escalating response to the ongoing protests.
There's something wrong with these people. All I want in terms of engagement, I just want to see peace. If there's peace, we get out. If there's even a chance of no peace, we stay there until there's peace. And a lot of people are being arrested. The rioters, or whatever you want to call them, they better know a lot of people are being arrested. They're going to be in jail for a long time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
In a separate speech honoring soldiers on Tuesday, Trump defended his decision to deploy troops as part of a confrontation over his immigration policies. He also declared that his administration would liberate Los Angeles and prevent it from being conquered by a foreign enemy.
A newly released legal opinion under the U.S. Department of Justice says President Donald Trump now has the power to abolish national monuments established by his predecessors. The 50-page document dated May 27th reverses a 1938 interpretation of the Antiquities Act.
National monuments in the U.S. are created by presidents in recognition of a site's cultural, historical, or scientific importance. National parks, on the other hand, are created by Congress to protect scenic features or natural phenomena. The new opinion sets the stage for Trump to eliminate federal protections for potentially millions of acres of land, including 2 California sites safeguarded by former President Joe Biden. It also aligns with plans to open federal lands for energy development, though no monuments have been fully abolished yet.
Australia, along with its allies, imposed sanctions on 2 far-right Israeli cabinet ministers for their roles in human rights violations, says Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong. The country, along with Britain, Canada, New Zealand and Norway, imposed sanctions in a coordinated action on cabinet ministers Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich, accusing them of repeatedly inciting violence against Palestinians in the West Bank.
We believe a two-state solution is the only way to end the cycle of violence. And, regrettably, it is also clear that the Netanyahu government rejects it. This is clear from its devastating military campaign in Gaza, civilians being killed by the thousands, children starving. And it is also clear from policies including rampant settlement construction and impunity for settler violence in the West Bank. Together with our partners, Australia has opposed Israel's humanitarian blockade and expansion of military operations in Gaza. And together with our partners, we have opposed the expansion of settlements in the West Bank like those announced by the Netanyahu government just a couple of weeks ago. And together with our partners, we have imposed sanctions on Israeli settlers for their violence against Palestinians. So far, the Netanyahu government has ignored this international opposition. We continue to support peace and security. We want a peaceful, secure future for the people of Israel. But we do take issue with the actions of the Netanyahu government. We don't believe that the actions of that government are conducive to ultimately a peaceful settlement in the Middle East.
The sanctions freeze the assets and impose travel bans on Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, both West Bank settlers. Israel's ambassador to Australia, Amir Maimon, wrote on X on Wednesday that the sanctions were concerning and unacceptable.
That remains our position. Thank you very much.
The World Bank/Global Economic Growth forecast, citing heightened trade tensions and policy uncertainty. The turmoil resulted in lower growth forecasts in nearly 70% of all economies across all regions and income groups, according to the latest biannual Global Economic Prospectus reports issue.
The report cut the 2025 global economic growth forecast to 2.3% from 2.7% in January 2025, with the 2026 growth forecast lowered to 2.4% from 2.7%. Advanced economies are expected to see an expansion of 1.2% in 2025, down from 1.7% in earlier forecasts, while the growth forecast with emerging market and developing economies was lowered by 0.3 percentage points to 3.8% in 2025. In particular, the United States is expected to grow by 1.4% in 2025, 0.9 percentage points less than previous forecasts and only half of the 2.8% growth in 2024. Both the Euro area and Japan are expected to grow 0.7% this year, 0.3 percentage points and 0.5 percentage points lower from previous estimates respectively. While China's growth forecasts for both 2025 and 2026 remain unchanged. The world economy is once more running into turbulence while a soft landing appeared to be in sight only 6 months ago, said the report. The report cautioned that without a swift course of correction, the harm to living standards could be deep. The global economy is expected to see a tepid recovery in 2026 and 2027, but world output would remain materially below projections made in January 2025.
This week on Wu Says, we take a closer look at China's economic growth story. The question we ask is, why was China's economic rise so extraordinary? Melissa Idris discusses this with Professor Emeritus Dr. Wu Wing Tai.
So this was seen as the Chinese innovation. That was a great thing which you are able to have production incentive without harming the previous beneficiaries, the people who had the coupon to buy at the low price.
So you're saying this part of China's growth story has not been fully understood or fully appreciated by others?
Yes, they see it as innovation. Why don't countries that reform, like Poland, like Russia, what did Russia and Poland do? Poland and Russia just say, okay guys, no more central planning. Everything goes to the market. And what do we know about the situation in these two countries? There was chaos. And you look at China, there was no chaos because the existing system stayed and a new system grows parallel.
Prof. Wu, can you talk a little bit about the line between government and business? Often when people talk about China's industrial transformation, the line between government and business gets blurred. And I talk about not just central planning and state subsidies, but also state-owned enterprises, investment R&D, and all the kind of conducive national policies that allow for certain sectors to thrive. Can you talk to me whether this fusion of business and government has been a boon or has been an advantage to China, or whether it's come with hidden costs?
Okay, what happens is the maintenance of the state enterprises, especially at the very beginning, where the state enterprise is allowed to the extra amount that it produces above the quota, it can sell. So there's a lot of profits. So it was seen as the preferable way to reform than in Poland and Russia. And it was seen as a superior approach. But the interesting thing is, this system has been abandoned in China. Basically, there's one price for almost every item now. You don't see that anymore. That duality could not survive because it was a recipe for corruption. Because who would get that coupon to buy the item at the lower price? And if you buy at the lower price, straight away you can sell it at the market price and make an unearned profit, basically. So it is the political elite that is able to get access to the cheap goods and reselling it on the market.
Catch the full conversation of this on all AWANI International social media accounts at Power Affairs.
That report wraps up AWANI International tonight. Stay tuned for our reports on the rivalries, strategies, and the shifts behind the power affairs driving the new global order. Visit international.astroawani.com for more. Be sure to follow our social media accounts @Power Affairs. That is all for now. I'm Hafiz Marzukhi. Good night.